Right here we have KUP. Yes, an old timer who was introduced in Transformers the movie, and since then has had many iterations. This is the original, but we're gonna go through all the versions of KUP from this one through to the latest. This is the evolution of KUP. So let's do this. Be right back. So as I mentioned, this KUP was introduced in Transformers the movie, an old timer with a musket rifle. Well, musket laser rifle, gun, something like that. And this is an original. Got it at a con. I used to have him before the purge, and I had to reacquire him and had to get the gun somewhere else. But this is the original, the very first KUP that came out. Now, interestingly, as a lot of G1, he doesn't have a ton of posability because his legs don't go anywhere, but his arms are actually pretty movable. They can go all the way around, but his elbows, well, they kind of go inwards instead of, there's no real way to have him have normal elbows. That's not the way the Transformer was set up. But as you can see, he's got an old grizzled face. I'll straighten you out yet, punk. And on his back, he's got a rub sign. So this is the one that came out based on the movie with his gun. He came out with KUP and Blur. Those were the only three Autobots that were the new cars at that time. And he transformed into not a normal Earth vehicle, but something that looked like a futuristic PT Cruiser, or well, it was a futuristic pickup truck, but almost like an El Camino. A relatively simple transformation compared to what we get nowadays. But there he is, and again came out in 1986. And doesn't roll that well, but better than some I've seen. It could be age, he's getting up there in years. And Hot Rod left a piece out, or two, depending on what you want to talk about. Now in vehicle mode, he is just about 5 inches long. In his robot mode, he stands about 5 3/4 inches if you count up to his hood. So that was the very first KUP that came out. But the next year, they weren't done with this mold. They did make a couple modifications, but they came out with the Targetmaster, which was virtually identical except for a slight bit of remolding. They made the hands a little bit bigger so that he could hold this Targetmaster partner of his, Recoil. And as you can see, the stickers are applied better than on this one that I picked up from a con. But otherwise, they're pretty identical except for the holes in the hands and the addition of a little port that his Targetmaster buddy could plug into when he was in vehicle mode. But that is the only real difference between the very first KUP and the Targetmaster, is the inclusion of a Targetmaster and not having the gun, and the port on the back and the differently sized fists. Now, we wouldn't see another KUP until 2005. And that was actually a reissue of this one, though he did come with the gun, which was molded so that he could actually hold it, even though the hands are a little bit bigger, and included Wheelie, the Jar Jar Binks of the Transformers universe, who I actually did an evolution of, but yeah, he was a reissue in 2005, part of the Transformers collection. And they actually used this mold to create an Orion Pax and Dion set. Dion was a recolor of Wheelie, but they decided KUP was the closest thing to an Orion Pax, and that hasn't really changed. But those were the first two in the 80s. Wasn't until the 2000s that we started to get more. In fact, it wasn't until 2009 that we'd get a new mold. And that was courtesy of BotCon. Yes, it is the Wings of Honor version of KUP. As you can see him right there, he is a Cybertron mold that was repurposed. The Cyber Key is somewhere. If need be, I have another one over there. But some of the distinctive changes, he had a Elite Guard Autobot symbol on his chest. It's also got a little bit of dust. He's been on my shelf for a while. But they remolded the head very nicely to make him into KUP. He also comes with some tools, which may be around somewhere, but he did kind of a shockwave thing with his hand so he could fire. Now, his transformation was quite different than his previous ones, a little more complex too, but he became kind of this compact SUV, still in KUP colors, but not quite the same truck that we were expecting. But rolling-wise, better than the G1. Ah, those were the days. Right, Sky? Sky is here because she likes old guys like me and KUP. Now, what's interesting, this is not the Cyber Key that he comes with, but it'll work because when you put in the Cyber Key, weapons pop out the side, which is very cool. Could also pop over his shoulder in robot mode. But this was part of the 2009 Wings of Honor set, and as you can see, Sky is very happy that I'm reviewing this particular toy. But definitely a cool transformation with the back and the front of the car basically coming together. to form his legs. But there he is in his robot mode once again. Now this version stands just about 5 inches tall. And as far as posability, has a little bit more than the G1, but not as much as you would think. He can kick forward and back. He can kind of go out to the side. Doesn't really work too well for his crotch. No ankle swivels, of course. His arms can't go quite all the way around because of the backpack that he carries that has those extra weapons, though we can move out the doors a little bit more so they're almost like shields. But he can go off to the side, can bend at the elbow. The fists actually don't twist. Well, he's only got one of them. And the head does turn all the way around. So we got a lot more posability on this guy from the Wings of Honor set. And you can see the Elite Guard symbols on his doors / shields, whatever you want to call them. But a cool version of KUP, and a little shorter, just a tad bit, than the original. What I find interesting is most of the KUPs, you don't have like huge ones and really small ones. They're pretty much in the same range. But we had to wait till 2011 to get another version of KUP. And that was a Generations one. Now I have many versions of this mold. I'm pretty sure that this is the Generations one. And he did change into a truck of sorts. He had a much longer rifle and stood taller at a whopping 6 inches. But Generations gave us a lot of different versions of our classic Transformers in a little bit updated of modes, and in some cases this one is a little more Earth-like than his original form. He's got a gun here which actually has an attachment so that you can actually plug it into him while he is in vehicle mode. But let's take a look at him from all sides, and the posability definitely improved. No ankle swivels in those days, but he could do a full Jean-Claude Van Damme, kick forward and back pretty well. He did have a bit of a double joint, so kicking way too forward, but that gave him very flexible knees. He could swivel his leg all the way around, kick to the side. Now, as far as twisting at the waist, that was not part of this mold, unfortunately. And his arms could actually, in this case, go all the way around, and he could bend at the elbow. His hands could actually twist, and he's got these plates under his arm, which he could like potentially block shots at his face. You could turn them around, but I don't know what the instructions say. It's been too long since I've read them, but I actually think I prefer them like this. Just looks a little better to me. But you know, you do what you want. If you have one, your toy. So his head could also turn, in fact, all the way around. Once you do it, it feels a little bit loose. You could probably pop it off pretty easy because it's on a ball joint. You've been beheaded. Wouldn't be the first time. And he's got wheels on his shoulders. Not too much kibble, but he's got some kibble. And of course he could transform. Now I do have to admit that doing these reviews of older toys reminds me of how clever some of the older transformations still are. There he is as a truck, flatbed and all, and you could snap his rifle right there, which kind of makes him a little bit more intimidating. Less of a robot in disguise. And he's a little over 5 inches, about 5 1/4 inches. And he rolls dang well. Man, after all the stuff with Siege, which are beautiful molds as vehicles, not quite what they could be. Of course, it'd be nice if I popped that properly, that panel into place. He's a little bit of a shell former, but still a very cool version of KUP. But that's not the only time they used that mold, because they actually put out in Japan the Transformers United version, which was a slightly different shade, a little more metallic, but still a very cool version of KUP. And that was the also in 2011. I'm not sure if this might be the damaged version instead of the United. It's very hard to tell because they're very close. But he actually has battle damage. So I think this is the damaged one, but there was a Transformers United one. Looks very similar to this. Here's a picture. But this was the battle damaged one. It also came out in 2011. So the same year, this mold was used 3 times for 3 slightly different decos of the same character, our dear friend KUP. I'm not going to transform him. You've already seen pretty much what his other form looks like. There was one that was released in 2014, same mold again, and that was with, it looks like Ratchet and Perceptor. And then there was one released 2 years later in 2016, the Platinum Edition. Now this was released in a multi-pack that had Springer, RC, Blur, KUP, and Ultra Magnus all in one big case. And it is a heck of a box. We'll get to some of the other characters at some point. But I kind of jumped ahead a little bit because we got all the way to 2016, because 2011, 2014, 2016, this mold was used a lot of times. But during that time, in 2012, there was another version of KUP called Sergeant KUP, as some of these were as well. But he was quite different because he was from the Prime universe. So yes, normally I wouldn't necessarily include a KUP that's not in the G1 lineage in an evolution, but there's only one, so we're gonna do that. So as you can see, he's kind of an homage to another grumpy old Transformer, Ironhide, who didn't sound like that in the movie, but he had very similar weapons on his arms. Now he still's got the grizzled old soldier type look, and as a Prime toy, he was actually pretty poseable. Jean-Claude Van Damme had a little bit of ankle swivel. He'd kick forward and back. The legs would swivel all the way around. Now this whole thing up here keeps his arms from going all the way around, but at least you can bend and swivel out and stuff like that. The fists don't move, but Transformers Prime did give us another version of KUP. I'll straighten you out yet. Now this one's only about 5 inches tall, and the Prime universe definitely a bit different than the G1, but a cool version of this character nonetheless. And before I transform him into his vehicle mode, just want to give him another spin so you guys can appreciate him from all angles, though he doesn't seem to like standing on the turntable of doom. Reminds me of the turntables of Dromadon. I'm just making shit up. Now the Prime version is actually a quite clever transformation. Lots of little intricacies, and it took me a moment to actually figure them out. But a very cool looking truck. Rolls pretty dang well. Again, this was before the Siege wheel problems. But a very cool version of KUP. You could move his guns to the outside if you wanted to fire them, or if he wants to be a little more inconspicuous, you can have him on the back. And he's like 4.5 inches long, but he's a very cool version of KUP and rolls like a mofo. But after all these different versions of KUP, it was time for Titan's Return. Now KUP, as you recall, Targetmaster. Titan's Return, he was a Headmaster. So a little bit of a change for our old grumpy friend KUP. This weapon and his head popped off. Now his Headmaster, like his original gun, is called Recoil. Little guy right there. And you know, without him he'd lose his head. Yes, bad jokes. He was about 5 3/4 a hair over, maybe very close to 6 inches tall. But Titan's Return, they ignored the fact that a lot of these guys used to be Target Masters, and they made them into Headmasters. He's got this double gun here. Kind of almost looks a little bit like his guns from Prime. Almost a full Jean-Claude Van Damme. He's not quite able to do it 100%, but he's very close. He can kick forward and back. Now I thought he had some kind of ankle swivels, but it doesn't look like that is the case. But bending at the knee, and he's got this nice sharp protrusion. Hi Sky, you're back. I know you like Headmasters because you get to knock them all over the place, little Titan Master guys. And you can swivel the leg all the way around. So very good there. Twist at the waist. Arms go all the way around. Obviously bends at the elbow. The fists don't twist, but you can actually kind of move them out a little bit. And he does have swivel to the side. No real ab crunch or anything. And the Headmaster turns. Something we couldn't do in the old days with the original Headmasters. Or Titan Masters. Whatever you want to call them. So there is Titan's Return KUP. And we can take Recoil here and transform him, because he is a robot. And we can put him in the driver's seat. And there we go. No seatbelt. Come on, really? There we go. He was a little loose in the back. But a very cool version of KUP. Again, I haven't found a version I hated. Rolls very well, enough to scare Sky. But I have to say, while this version is good, there's another version that's better. This is Targetmaster Chair, or basically the Legends version of KUP from Japan. And in this case, the Titan Master is unnamed. The face is a bit remolded. Looks even more KUP-like than that one. And he's got Recoil as a gun instead. So another very cool version of KUP. I'm not going to transform him. You know what he looks like. But the deco is different. The head is different. And the addition of the Target Master is definitely nice. I mean, they did still keep the Titan Master or Headmaster, though, again, I don't know what the name is of that guy, but I do know that the gun is Recoil. And of course, all the same posability. He just comes with this little guy. whose transformation is a little bit more complex than the old Targetmasters. And I mean, not a heck of a lot more. But he actually has to twist in order to become the weapon, and the legs can go up or around and plug in into a very cool Targetmaster. But when he transforms, little twists at the waist, and much more posable than the old Targetmasters. I mean, he can't do a Jean-Claude Van Damme. And I want to get my fingers out of the way here so you can actually see this guy, because he is small. It's kind of hard to see, but he can definitely kick forward. Not really back because he's got two big gun barrels, but his arms can go to the side, all the way around. A very cool Targetmaster partner. But wait, there's more. We are getting close to the end. Because in 2020, we got what we thought was an awesome cup. It was the Studio Series. Now, the Studio Series, when he first came out, everyone loved this bot. I mean, how could you want a better cup? He's got a gun that resembles somewhat the original gun, as you can see them side by side there. He's got his Energon Goodie dispenser, and they have used this guy for a lot of stuff since then. Again, Orion Pax and Dion, but a very cool version of Cup and very posable. I mean, very, very good ankle tilts. I mean, he could do almost a split there, and he can do a full Jean-Claude Van Damme without any issues. Hurts me just looking at it. He can kick forward, and he can kick back, and he can kick to the side. He can bend at the knee. I mean, not too far. He is getting old. Swivel around the leg, twisting at the waist. It is there all the way around. Arms can go all the way around. You can kind of actually move them out to the side, bend at the elbow, do a swivel. So you got to be careful. You can actually pull the arms off, which is kind of, you know, when you think about it, par for the course for Cup. Fix me. Yeah, be careful what you wish for, dude. Head goes all the way around. It can kind of, well, that whole plate tilts forward, but without that, you can still tilt it back and forth a little bit. He's got a lot of posability. He's a fine looking figure. And when you transform him, I mean, it's a very clever transformation with lots of things hidden. I mean, look at that cup. Such a clever transformation and looking so much like the original cartoon, more so than even the original toy. Sometimes you got to push things in. Even had storage for his weapons. You could put his gun on the side there. You could put even his Energon Goodie dispenser on the side. I mean, who could want more? I mean, yeah, it didn't roll that well, and that could be partially me, but I mean, a lot of the later toys didn't roll that well, but it rolled okay. I mean, he drives slow, he's old, you know, that's kind of what they do. Go to Florida, find out. So who could want more than that? That is the crowning achievement, until the Buzzworthy Bumblebee version. And it's the same mold, it's the same butt, it's the same accessories, it's slightly different deco, and it's painted instead of having the clear stuff. So a lot of people were like, what the hell, man? Because they would have preferred the painted windshield to this one if they'd known it was an option. So a lot of people freaked out and were unhappy that the Buzzworthy Cup looked better than the Studio Series Cup. I mean, I think he's the Buzzworthy Bumblebee Studio Series Cup, but still, same exact mold, but just a nicer deco. I mean, you might disagree. You might actually like the one with the clear windshield, and that's perfectly fine, right, Sky? We accept all kinds here. But a lot of people I heard were not happy that this new version of Cup was basically the same one we just got with deco that they would have preferred. And so some people didn't get this guy. He's not an expensive bot nowadays, so you could probably get him pretty quickly and cheaply if you wanted to. But yeah, there are a lot of Cups. Not as many as you'd think. And then there, of course, there's, you know, some Creo ones, and we don't talk about Creo. But yeah, definitely an interesting evolution from this to this. And they're basically the same height, but just the new one is so much better and so much more accurate to the movie. Will there be more Cups? Probably at some point, and then I'm gonna have to do like a more Cups video. Did I miss any? I don't think I did, other than, you know, the Creo and stuff like that. But Cup is not one of my favorites, but I do like him as a character. I know some people have different opinions and they love him. Some people are like, I hate that old guy because he reminds me of me. But this is a cool homage to the original character, and I am glad to have all these Cups. Except this one. This one isn't mine. This is Tony and Rose's from RetroCon. Thank them so much for lending me the Targetmaster, because the only Targetmaster I have is this one from Japan, which is nice too. I mean, compare original recoil and the new one. So there you have it, the evolution of KUP from 1986 to 2022. It's been a couple years since we've had a new KUP, so we should get one. Probably at some point we will. But I hope you're enjoying these evolution videos as much as I enjoy making them, and it takes me back down memory lane, especially trying to figure out how to transform things I haven't transformed in years. They've just been sitting on a shelf. And I do hope that we'll see you again. While you are debating about how many KUPs you want, and I'll put links to all of these in the description. Some are links to eBay, some are links to other stores that you can get very different versions of KUP. And there's also some third-party ones out there if you decide that you really, really need a KUP. But while you're mulling these guys over, we have another evolution video over here, which is actually the Jar Jar of the Transformers universe. We have the evolution of Wheelie. It's still fun to check out. He does have a lot of interesting forms, and why not? We will see you next time. As always, have fun and good hunting.